on Power School, so if you need to go back and look at it. So I'm going to start with, let's see, the one side. It says page 50, says 53 at the bottom, because I know both sides start with 1. So I'm on the side that says activity 6.1, computation of gross pay. So the first one, we've got regular hours worked, overtime hours worked, and regular hourly rate of pay. So we worked 40 hours. We know that the pay rate per hour is $5.75, so that one's kind of an easy one there. It's 40 times 5.75, so $230. So the next one, overtime hours worked, 8 hours of overtime. So just to remind you, the default setting, just like on a computer, it's like, programs have a default setting. The default setting for overtime is time and a half. That's the law. So that's, unless there's other information, whatever overtime's talked about in general, the default for overtime is time and a half for those hours that you worked over. So that means for every hour of overtime you worked, whatever your rate is, you're going to get paid at 1.5 times what your hourly rate is. So here our hourly rate is $5.75, so it's going to be 1.5 times 5.75. So 1.5 times 5.75. And we've got to round it. We've got $8.62.5. Well, we don't have 62.5 cents, so we got to roll. So that's going to be $8.63 for each hour of overtime. In this situation, we get paid $8.63 instead of $5.75. So we worked 8 hours, so it's going to be $8.63 times 8 hours, $69.04 for the overtime hours. So we're gonna have to figure out these separately. So you can't just do 48 times 5.75. It's 40 times that, and then figure out what our overtime is, and then calculate by our overtime hours. So number 2 is the same. Number 3, it's just got all the hours lumped together. So now I'm going to give you another default setting. Regular hour work week is 40 hours. So anything over 40 hours is considered overtime by federal law. So we've got 40 hours, and we've got 6 hours of overtime. So now we've got $5.82 times 40. So 582 times 40, $232.80. Now we've got to use the zero because it's money. Now we've got to calculate what our overtime is. Overtime is going to be time and a half. So we want 1.5 times 582 to figure out what our overtime pay rate is going to be. So it's $8.73. Then we had 6 of those. So now we've got 6 hours times 873. Because that's how much we worked in overtime. So we get paid at a higher rate. Times 6, $52.38. So yeah, you can't just take the 46 and multiply it by 582. You have to separate the 6 hours off of it, because you're going to get paid at a higher rate. Sure, you get paid at a higher rate too, because that whoever it is that you're working for, you work 6 hours of overtime, they owe you that extra money. And that's not out of the kindness of their heart. That's federal law. So don't let anybody tell you that that's going to be a benefit, that they're going to be nice and provide to you. That's federal law. Okay, I know number 4 kind of tripped several of you up. Says the salary is $984 per month, and then the overtime rate is $8.39 per hour, and you work 14 hours of overtime. Well, really, as far as calculating anything out, this 984 doesn't really have any bearing on this next statement about the overtime rate. So what we would need to do here, it already tells you that the overtime pay rate is $8.39, so there's nothing extra to do there because it already tells you what it is. And you've got 14 hours of that, so it's just going to be 14 times 8.39. So it's $117.46 for overtime. And then if you want to do that extra step in here, remember the regular salary is $984, so this is just the regular pay. Now we have the addition of our overtime pay, so we can just add the $984 plus our $117. So $1,101.46. So that's how you would do number 4. Now let me see. Number 5, that's just like number 3. So you just have to separate. You have to calculate this both ways. 40 hours plus, well, we got a total of 51, so it's going to be 11 hours of overtime and our 40 hours of regular time. So you just have to separate our hours. 40 times 535. And we've got to figure out what our overtime pay rate is going to be. So remember, the default for overtime is time and a half. Then once you figure that out, you just multiply that by the 11 to figure out what the overtime pay is. The number 6. Number 6 is just like number 4. And on 7 and 8, I don't think any that I looked at, I don't think anybody had any trouble with those. Just tells you what the annual pay is, so that means your pay for the year. You know how many months are in a year, just divide by 12, and that's how much the monthly pay rate is. So no trouble with 7 and 8. Any questions with this so far? Colin, you getting this? You sure? I don't even see your paper out. Got it? So you're playing on your phone. Just put it away. Okay, so that's this side. Kind of. It's not too bad after you kind of get shown a couple things there. Now the other side, where it's got more of a description of stuff, this one can throw several of you off too. So not just in this class, but in 3rd and 5th period. So on number 1. Jerry's time and a half pay rate per hour. Remember, the regular hourly rate's $10.40. So on this one, it's just going to be, time and a half. So that's 1.5. So that's $10.40 times 1.5 equals for A. And then for B, what's the double pay rate? You don't multiply the double pay rate times what your answer for A was. It's going to be still double times what the hourly rate is. So $10.40. So that's going to be $10.40 times 2. Okay, so number 2, 9 hours at time and a half. That's just the 1454 times 1.5. Then multiply that times 9. Number 3, 13 hours of double time pay. So double time times 2. So you just multiply that by 2. Okay, now we've got number 4. Number 4 even gets trickier. So Wendy earned $440 at $11 an hour. Then she got paid time and a half for another 7 hours, and then double time for 6.5. So we already know she made $440. And we know that she makes $11 an hour. So we got to figure out our first 7 hours. So it's going to be 11 times 1.5. So that's $16.50 an hour for time and a half. So she worked 7 hours, so multiply that times 7. So she made $77. And then after 7 hours, she got paid double time, 6.5. So double as just, double, so times 2. So 11 times 2 equals $22 an hour for this other 6.5. So that's going to be 22 times 6.5. Get a glare on the calculator. $143. So I'll put our 143 down here below our other list. So we've got our regular time for our first 40 hours. We've got our $77 for the next 7 hours of overtime. And for our last 6.5 hours worth of overtime, got paid more, got $143. So let's add all these up. $660. So number 5, this guy's making a little bit more money. He's now he's up to $12.73 an hour. Whoever he's working for is nice enough, really out of the kindness of the heart, nice enough to pay him overtime for anything over 37.5 hours. So he's going to have $12.73 times 37.5. He has 5 hours worth of overtime at time and a half. So you just do the standard again, 1.5 times 1273 times the 5. That'll give you that one. And then number 6, Barbara worked 60 hours last week. 40 of those were at regular time, $12.50 an hour. 18 hours were at time and a half, and 2 hours at double time. So number 6 is just like number 4. Just different amounts, but still just change the numbers on the formula here, and that'll get you your gross pay for Barbara for the week. So any questions about this side? All right, I'll come around and check and see how you're all doing.